Hello students, I would like to welcome you at the page of Shekhawati International Academy, Seeker. Here, this video is for the class 8 CBSE, and this chapter is taken from the book Delight. And the first chapter is Report Card of Mahatma Gandhi. So here, let me introduce myself. My name is Manoj Kumar, and I would like to teach you this chapter. So here, as the title of the report card, the Mahatma Gandhi. Here, what do you understand by Mahatma? We have understood that this chapter is definitely on the life of Mahatma Gandhi. But when it comes this word report card, it means that this is a mark sheet of Mahatma Gandhi. So here in this chapter, I would like to tell you that you will listen, you will study only the childhood time of Mahatma Gandhi, how he used to be, what type of his habits, what type of his achievements in the childhood time, what type of in games he was interested. So you would study a lot about him, and this is a very nice chapter. Actually, this short story is taken from one of his own autobiography. The name of the autobiography is My Experiments with Truth. So it is taken a short dialogues, incidents of his life. But as you all know about Mahatma Gandhi, and let me tell you about Mahatma Gandhi, but not that you have already known that about his achievements, what was his contribution in the process of independence, and about his barristering study. He was barrister in South Africa. He was thrown out of the train. I don't want to talk about this because it's not correlated with this chapter. The I would like to share you the small incidents of his life, which unfortunately was not in this chapter. So let's talk about them. So, dear students, when he was 5 to 6 year old, he used to scare a lot. He used to fear a lot. He, especially at the night time, he was not able to sleep properly because he was thinking that there were many bad spirits, demons came in his sleep, in his life, and surrounding him, wandering him, and make him scared. So that's why he used to fear a lot. And one day he discussed with his mother, and the mother advised him, if you want to rid of all this situation, then you have to recite again and again the name of Lord Rama. So from that very beginning, he used to speak, he used to recite the name of Lord Rama, 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 whenever he was going to sleep. And from that period of time, he had been continuously reciting the name of Lord Rama. And you know that while when he was at the last moment of his death, he was also reciting the name of Lord Rama. So you could hear the role of Lord Rama in his life. Second incident, I remember that while when he was 9 or 10 year old, one of his friend taught him a lesson, or he was in a bad company, you can say. Actually, what was happening, that one of his friend told him that why the Britishers were so stronger, why they play very great game, how in all subjects they are so intelligent. What is the reason? The friend told him that the reason is they generally eat meat, a meat of animals. So if we would start eating, then we would become stronger and great knowledgeable person. Then he was from a very holistic background family, where these things are not allowed, non-veg especially not allowed. But in spite of it, he ran away. He used to eat out of his house such type of things, and this is one incident. But the most very strangeful experience I would like to share you with. That is, uh, one day what happened, he was in his class, that the teacher was teaching in his class, and suddenly one of representative of British rule company, he came for inspection what type of studying is going on in the class. So the Gandhi, Mahatma, the Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, the full name Mahatma Gandhiji was sitting in his class and doing the same work as the teacher was teaching in the class. And suddenly there was an officer came for inspection, and you can say in a form of examining the what the level of the students, what they are studying, and how they are spelling, how good they are in spell. So he had given him or all the students a spelling of cattle, like write down the cattle spelling, and he was giving them 5 minutes. In 5 minutes, when the 5 minutes were completed, he ordered the teacher to collect all the slates of the students. While the teacher was collecting the slates, he found that the Gandhi Gandhi had written wrong spelling. So he signed him. He told him very low voice in a whispering way, just copy with your other friends. But Gandhi neglected it. It was a big sport, it was a big help by the teacher, but Gandhiji didn't take this help. And when the inspector or when the officer went out from the class, the teacher asked him, why did you not copy after my suggestion, after my permission? Then the reply of the Gandhi was that no, he would not cheat. He would not go at the way of cheating. He was he was on the way of truth, and that's why there you have seen Satyagraha, and he was at the way of truth. So in whole his life journey, he was at the pace of the way of truth. So these were the small incidents, beautiful incidents of his life, and there are many incidents which, if I talk about, then how could I complete this chapter? So let's talk about the beginning of the chapter. My dear students, the chapter starts with report cards of the Mahatma Gandhi. Why have you fared so badly in the exam? Fared means, my dear students, success. Why have you success so badly in the exam? Somebody asked this question, especially an journalist who asked this question. These marks are just not good. How often have you been at the receiving end of such remarks made by parents, teachers, or both? So here he was having not too much good marks as the intelligent students have, and like you students have a very good marks, but he was at the average level. So why? It is just because of this was the question not only said by the his parents but also his teacher as well as. But there is a hope for us. Weren't many famous people very mediocre students in school? Mediocre students means, here the meaning of this, there are very famous people in this world. There are many famous people in this world. They were not very good. They were not very good students in school, or they are average students, but their work had taken them at the peak of the success, or at the they had done some extraordinary work for the country, for the nation, for the family, for the city, for their own self, and they are recommended, they are regarded by the supreme being. So here, read the following article about Mahatma Gandhi as a student. So here, my dear students, let's start of the beginning of the chapter. Mahatma Gandhi was one of the most influential man of the 20th century. Influent man means he was so famous, he was widespread, means that he was very popular among the whole nation, not only nation but also in all over the world. But what kind of student had he been? Our curiosity in this regard is understandable, and the answer can be found in his own autobiography, My Experiment with Truth, and in preserved record of one of school's where he studied. So here we knew many things about his life. We have been continuously studying in the our books, in English or in science, or sorry, science, not social science. There are many books where we have been come through, and there are many programs are being telecasted in television, mobile phone. So but the questions we had about his schooling, about his study, about his childhood memories. So he had collected all his memory in his one of autobiography. My dear students, here the question comes here, that what is autobiography? You must know this question in your mind, some students. So let me tell you, my dear students, autobiography is that, if suppose if I want, if any person who is so famous, who had done some extraordinary work, especially Sachin Tendulkar or Dhoni, Mahendra Singh Dhoni. So there is a particular movie had been released, had been telecasted, and had been made on the life of Dhoni. So there was a person and who was playing his role. Now in this time it is so controversial, but let me tell you, the actor was great and he had done some splendid work. So he had shown in his art the life of Mahendra Singh Dhoni from his childhood to at the end of his, when he had taken the like maybe some like where he was, what could I say, he took his name off from the cricket Indian team, or we can say when until he was retired. So here, my dear students, so in his book everything is written. So autobiography is a kind of a book in which the whole life is presented, the whole life from the beginning, from the birth till the last end, where he is existing till that. From that period of time, everything is written, everything is mentioned in a particular book, where those people who have a very fond, those people who have a curiosity to know about the background, the basic things which nobody know, so they especially buy such type of books. Or if you want to buy the books, they are available online, especially many websites are there, and the book name is the My Experiment with Truth. So now here, Gandhi had changed many schools before the age of 10, but spent 7 years in a high school in Rajkot. So as he was from Gujarat, his birthplace was Porbandar. So he had earlier he had changed many schools, but 7 years he had constantly spent in a higher school in Rajkot. He tells us that what was certainly not regarded as a dunes, and he was telling that uh, he was not regarded as a slow learner. Dunes means a slow learner. He was saying that I was not regarded in my whole experience of schooling as a slow learner. I was average, I was good. His certificates of progress and character were never bad, so his character as well as his progress report were not bad. He even won prize at the end of the second standard and get scholarship in class 4th and 5th. So in the second class he won the prize, and for that he got scholarship and he studied free of cost in standard 4 and 5. And yet he say, with characteristics modesty, that was only due to luck and not merit. So he said that everything I have achieved, everything I have done, it's not by merit that I had a great merit in my subjects, I had a good marks in my subject. It's all because of luck. And this is his character modesty. Character modesty means how soft, how pity he was from inside his heart. He was never considered himself as very VVIP or very important person of the country. He considered that he is a very humble, he is a very small person, an ordinary person, not extraordinary person. In the later years, however, his attendance become lax. Lax means very few, very less. A mere 110 days Mere means, my dear students, only 110 days out of 238 in standard third. For example, his marks in the annual examination normally average between 45% to 55%. You just underline this, and we will discuss about this later. So now, I was saying you, my dear students, that in the class, when he was in the following years, however, his attendance became less, a mere 110 days out of 238 in standard third. In the third standard, he was getting very less attendance. Why? Because there is a reason. For example, his marks in the annual examination normally average between 45% and 55%. So he in the third class, he used to get only 45%, between 55%. He was even made of a repeat a year due to poor attendance, because he had to attend his sick father and his newly wedded wife. So that is the reason why he had to repeat this third class again, just because of there are two reasons. First, his father was so weak, his father was sick, not healthy, and at the same time, when he was in third standard, here that is mentioned that his newly wedded wife, he got married at the very small age. In that period of time, in early 19, people used to get very early. People used to get married very early. So that is the reason. So he had to check. He had to maintain his personal life, his own life very carefully. That's why he had to repeat the same class again. He then became a serious student, not got an overall score of 66.5%. He could no longer be called a medicore student. So now, after a while, he became serious, and after that he got 66% at the same class. And now no one can call him a medicore student. Medicore student means not bad or not, it's average students. Nobody can say that he is a slow learner. Everybody is saying that now he is extraordinary, he is getting good, he is intelligent students. Now here, after that, what happened? The matriculation exam saw him score the 404 rank out of the 799 successful candidates. His mark sheet read. Now here, in the 10th class, how much marks he got? He got 404. His rank was 404 among the 799 students. So it was average. It was over the average. Now here, this is the mark sheet which shows us that in English subject he got 89 marks out of 200, Gujarati 45.5 out of 100, Mathematics 56 out of 175, in General Knowledge he got 54 out of 150. So here it shows, what do you think, my dear students? I leave these questions on you, that how do you understand, how do you take as a student the mark sheet of this guy. Don't take it that he is a Mahatma Gandhi. Just take it if you got this. Seldomly you get this kind of mark sheet in your front of you, and what would your reaction? I would suggest that in English he was okay, 50-50. His English was okay, but in Gujarati, that is his own language, here he got the same marks, 50% almost. In mathematics, yes, I can understand mathematics is little bit harder than others, and so he got 56%. That's so less as compared to others. He didn't cross the 50%. In general knowledge, he also had the same level as mathematics and general knowledge. His both subjects were little bit weaker than others. Now moving to next page, second number page, subject he had to study. In his own words, English became the medium of instruction in most subjects from the 4th standard. So now here, my dear students, Gandhi, as this pictures highlight how the Gandhi was looked like in the childhood time. in right side, in right corner. This is the smarter cute. Now here, English. English subject work as a instruction, and it is used in each and every subject, English subject especially. And it has been started from the fourth standard. I found myself completely at sea. Now here when he used to study English, he got puzzled, he got complex, he got confused while he was learning this language. It was very very hard for him to understand this language. Geometry was a new subject in which I was not particularly strong. Here, a new subject after completion of 10th class merits, and now he had upgraded into a higher level, 11th class. In this class he had geometry subject, English as well as. So geometry was a new subject and he was not strong in this. And what is geometry, my dear student? Let me tell you. Geometry is a mathematics subject where there are some square and many others, where you find the interest. Many other things are there in geometry. And the English medium made it still more difficult for me, and especially English had made this subject more difficult for me, because as he was very tight in the subject of English, he was not able to understand, he was not intelligent in English subject. It was very hard for him to recite the whole sentence in as a question answer or as a essay or letter writing. It was very hard for him. So, and the same subject, the geometry, was also in English language, so it becomes so tenseful for him. The teacher taught the subject very well. He appreciated the teachers who were teaching him, and those teachers were very very fortunate that they used to teach Mahatma Gandhi. But I couldn't follow him. Often I would lose heart and think of going back to the third standard. So I was not able to understand. It was so difficult for me, and I was considering myself that it is the third standard was far better than, for the third standard means my previous classes were quite easier than this classes, so I should go back to my previous classes. Sometimes these questions, these ideas emerged in his mind, my dear students. When, however, with much efforts, reached the 13 propositions of Aniculate, and the utter simplicity of the subject was suddenly revealed to him. And now geometry. Now geometry he had reached at at a level where at the 13th chapter, at the 13th exercise, which was a proposition of include. It is a kind of you have know that like here, this is the meaning of this. Include is a famous Greek mathematician who wrote the treatise on geometry around 300 BC. The 13 propositions make the geometric correlations between pyramids and a sphere. So it is all about the pyramids and sphere. You know pyramids, and this is the 13 chapters where he was very happy. He thought that just to understand this chapter, it need focus, it need concentration, and then you will easily, it becomes utter simplicity. Utter simplicity means here the subject becomes so simple. Even since that time, geometry has been both easy and interesting for me. Now he is saying that after the 13 sorry. However, with much effort, I reached the 13th proposition of include. The utter simplicity of the subject was suddenly revealed to me. A subject which is only required pure and simple use of one's reasoning power, could not be difficult. So here, to understand, to make this subject easier, which subject? The geometry subject. So what a student require the reasoning level of the student little bit powerful. So for him or for her, that subject is so easy. Next, what he is saying, ever since that time, geometry has been both easy and interesting for me. So this subject become so easy and interesting for him. Now, Sanskrit proved a harder task. Sanskrit subject was little bit harder subject. Why? Because in geometry there was nothing to memorize. Whereas in Sanskrit, I thought everything had to be learnt by heart. So in Sanskrit, the student has to recite by his own heart, memorizing all the question answers and other grammar as well as. But in reasoning, or in geometry, everything is need to keep in the mind about the rules and regulation or all things. Now, in the next paragraph, my dear students, what he is saying, did the frail and agile Gandhi enjoy physical education and sports? Strong and active. Here, frail means strong and agile means active. Gandhiji enjoy physical education and sports. Here in this paragraph, Gandhiji was telling that in about the physical education and sports in his life. What were the role of sports and education in his life? In the higher classes, the headmaster the headmaster of his school had made gymnastic and cricket compulsory for the boys. That it is become compulsory. What becomes compulsory? Cricket and gymnastic, both games. But he disliked both. He didn't like both games. He never took part in any exercise, cricket or football, before they were made compulsory. So before football, cricket, gymnastics, when they were become compulsory for all the students, before this he was never interested in this such type of games, and he never took part in any exercise, cricket, football, before they were made compulsory. My shyness, he says, was one of the reason for the aloofness which I now see was wrong. So here he is saying that the reason I was not involved myself, I couldn't involve myself in such type of sports activities just because of my shyness. Due to my shyness, due to I was not extraordinary students, I don't want to believe that I should play what would other things. So I was surrounded by shyness, and that was the main problem. Aloofness, my dear, keeping a distance from people, keeping a distance from the particular place. So that was the reason I was trying to keep myself from all this activity away. Now, and he's saying that that was his wrong mistake, it was his blunder mistake. I then had the false notion that gymnastics had nothing to do with education. We know what he was having notion means his perception, his assumption, his idea, his thinking, his consideration about the sports or gymnastics was that they did not connect with each other. Education is different and sports are different. Both are not parallel for each other. This was his mind. But now, in our school days, both are parallel to each other. In your classes, you know that, my dear students, you are given a separate period, an extra period for those students who are interested in games. So every students get a little bit 1 or 2 periods meanwhile their school hours for playing for their favorite games. Today I know the physical training should have such have as much place in the curriculum as mental training here. But today he understood the importance of physical game. They are so important not only for the health but also for the mental training, and it makes children more sharper, more cunning, more extraordinary, more powerful, more it also improve the confidence. Playing is a playing in a team, playing in a unit is very very important, very well, my dear students. Another regret. Regret means if something done wrong, if a person is doing a bad thing in his life. Suppose if I had done something wrong in my life, so I had to repent, I had to regret on myself, on my mistake, why did I do it. And so that's why he is saying. Now, another regret that Gandhiji felt in later years was about the neglect of handwriting. Till yet, we are going to write it, study it, and the rest of the portion we will cover it in the next part. My dear students, I hope you have come through by many things that about the small incident of his life. In the initial, the first paragraph was that about his autobiography, the experiment of his my experiment of the truth. That was the name of the my experiment with truth. This was the name of the autobiography. In this autobiography, there were small incidents were highlighted, especially his education from beginning. He had spent 7 years in Rajkot. Earlier he used to change a lot school, but after that he becomes steady. And then after, he was trying to say us about his mark sheet, about his marks in the third class. He had to repeat twice just because of, there was a reason behind it, that his father was sick and his mother, and he got newly married, so he had to maintain his personal life as well as with study as. And after that, he was telling us his score, like in the initial stage he got 45% to 55%, but after that in the third standard, when he was repeating the same class, he got 66%. And in the in the matrix, he got 404 ranks among the 790 students. And after that, we studied his subject English, Gujarati. They were average, but the mathematics and the general knowledge were a little bit weaker. So now here, after that, his interest in the geometry subjects, he was very quiet. He was doing well. He was comparing as well as between two subjects, Sanskrit and geometry. He thought that geometry is a little bit easier because it requires only mental ability. It requires the reasoning power. But here in the Sanskrit subject, it requires a lot memorizing power. The student has to learn each and every matter of the chapter. So he concluded all these things. And then after, we had studied about his interest in physical education. There is no physical education in his choice. He used to think about that these words are not part of the study, these are not part of education, they are just for time pass. But after that, when he got grown up, he realized that he had done a very big mistake. He didn't take himself in the competition, in the participation of the games, even though they were compulsory. And just due to his shyness, he was some little bit, we could say, he was introvert person. He didn't want to disclose himself especially in the place of ground or in the playing places. So here, that we have learned. Now the next, you are going to study in my next video, that would be part second of this chapter. Thank you so much, my dear students.